I'm Bob Savakinus. Welcome to our program in a nutshell. Today our special guest is Beth Burkhauser. Beth is an art educator, preschool through 12th grade. She's been doing education in art for over 46 years. She has taken a leadership role in our local, state, and national organizations with projects integrating the arts into the general curriculum. She's the founder and the director of the International Interdependent Hexagon Project, which deals with social justice, art, education. She's an adjunct faculty member at King's College in Wilkes-Barre, at Keystone College, where she has developed the art education curriculum. She has authored many articles and has coordinated various artist-in-residence programs. She's also the mother of two children, Andrea Cummings and the late Morgan Prokop. Welcome to Beth Burkhauser. Welcome to our program.
Great to be here. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Well, thank you for being a guest with us today. It is an amazing background that you have as far as arts and education tied in together and everything. I guess I'm going to start off by just asking a very simple question. What got you interested in the arts?
I think that I showed some promise as a youngster, and that gave me a lot of reinforcement from family, friends, school, and so I continued to pursue that and ended up teaching, majored in art and then ended up as an art educator and had a couple of side jobs, and they didn't do what art education did.
Right.
Forever motivating and challenging.
By just looking through your resume, your biography and everything, you've worked from pre-K all the way up to the college level. So kind of give us a little bit of an overview of what it's been like working in education with all these various grade levels and working with the arts.
Okay, well, to go back a little bit to my background as a person, I grew up among art and artists. My grandfather was an artist. My father's family was musical. And then I definitely, when I went to college, going to Marywood University, a liberal arts school, I felt that I was able to see connections between and among things. And when I started teaching, that was something that really hit me, that art is not an isolated subject area. It has to be connected to other things, other subject areas. So throughout my whole career, I've made that's been a challenge for me, from working with children in elementary school, connecting them with the natural world, which is very important, then seeing the connections between math and science and that kind of thing, especially with older children and even in high school. That's always been something that I've enjoyed. Certainly the competencies, you should know how to draw, you should know how to design, but you can bring in other areas of interest with young people that make it very relevant to them, and that's been a lot of my focus.
I'm going to go back a few years ago, and I remember attending a United Nations event where we had high school students, college students at it. I believe it was at the Radisson Hotel through the former Mayor David Wenzel, and I know you were one of the presenters with the Interdependent Hexagon Project, and that's probably what you're most famous for, and I would love to hear more about how you got started with the Hexagon Project and how it's evolved and where we're at with it, and I'm sure our viewers would too.
Okay, yes, the Interdependent Hexagon Project probably started as almost a connection to my actual teaching. I ended up teaching at McNichols Plaza Elementary School in South Scranton, which has a footprint, of all things, of a hexagon in the center with a library, and then hexagons all around it, like a flower. And actually, I designed the school flag with that in mind. And when I retired, I had been involved with the interdependence movement that was started by Dr. Benjamin Barber from New York, and then our local person, civic and cultural leader, Sandra Myers, and she's a friend and a neighbor of mine. She had invited me to become involved with the interdependence movement.
Happy Interdependence Day 2021. If there were any folks that doubted our interdependence for better and worse, the pandemic might have given them second thoughts. For better, we are obliged to accept people as being part of the human race with all the promise and opportunity and vulnerability that we all possess. For worse, the pandemic did not discriminate. It affects everyone in its path who is not immunized. Hundreds and thousands of people have died. But in the end, we discovered new vaccinations that immunize people. We found that we could work remotely in many jobs and could communicate with each other in many ways. Zooms became an effective substitute for in-person meetings. Masks permitted us to move into groups with safety. Still, we have much further to go. People who are poor, who are different colors than us, different religions, or different economic groups are often excluded from our daily lives and from our mindsets. Because of the progress of technology, we have never in history been as connected to each other as we are today. The challenge that we have is to expand our personal capacities for friendship and respect for others. That requires embracing people different from ourselves, not as others, but as kindred spirits. While the pandemic itself kills, our human ingenuity must continue to grow. And if we are to solve the problems of otherness, let's vow to move further along in embracing others in the coming year. Let our acceptance of the reality of our interdependence be our guide. Thank you.
So that's a whole thing in itself. Dr. Barber initiated Interdependence Day and the interdependence movement 2 years after 9/11 as a symbol of where we have to go next. And it was initiated on the day after, which would be September 12th. And he celebrated his concept of the fact that we need to see ourselves as interconnected in this world. We are interdependent. No matter we cross borders. We have many of the same issues. Every country has many of the same issues. Talking about right now immigration, for example, environmental. All leaders and citizens are experiencing a lot of these issues. So we can't just remain isolated. We have to see ourselves as sharing ideas and solutions, and the world has become smaller. So the interdependence movement was about that. In fact, Dr. Barber wrote a book called Mayors Rule the World. Mayors rule the world, because they're the people on the ground. So coming from that, Sandra said, well, would you be a part of the project or the Interdependence Day committee? And I said, sure, but could I invent something? And I thought of the hexagon. And the hexagon is infinitely interconnecting. It does serve as the metaphor, I feel, for interdependence. So the idea came from that. And I just thought, well, it would be kind of a mail art project where we'd ask students and people throughout, I thought, well, maybe Scranton, Pennsylvania, hey, why not make it the world? So let's ask people throughout the world to make hexagons about things that connect us. And the themes of interdependence are many. There tend to be social justice themes, for instance, children's rights, human rights, women's rights, environmental concerns, governmental concerns, democracy. All of these things are those themes. So ask teachers to have students respond to those themes. And we actually, we have a website now, and on that website are lesson plans and motivational activities that teachers could actually just go and pick them up and use them for students to respond to. This is something that I feel, again, harks back to my original philosophy, in that we don't make art just to make pretty pictures. It has to have some kind of content. It has to have meaning to the person who's creating it. And I also think that many teachers don't have the opportunity, possibly within their curriculum, to add this themes of social justice. And this is like a user-friendly way to do it. You know, look at a hexagon, boys and girls, and if you make this, you're going to see yourself as part of a bigger picture, because there's 1,000 other kids out there making hexagons too. And you can see, you'll be able to see yourself and your own artwork as connected. And then, you know, we've done so many things with groups of people where people do make hexagons. We've been in a prison situation where the men made hexagons about a book they had been reading, and they responded to it and could talk about some of their issues in a group. I've also done that with women in recovery and with groups of teachers. And we can see how we are connected that way. So there's so many ways to use the hexagon. In fact, that's, I think, what's very attractive about it, because you don't have to, you're not limited to any material. You're not limited to whether you do it alone or with others. The only limitation is the hexagon template, and that's available and downloadable from our website. I've given a workshop on the math behind the hexagon. You can learning how to construct your own, so we're crossing into other disciplines that way. We've developed a curriculum with the Eastern Pennsylvania Coalition on acid mine reclamation, believe it or not, where we have an actual curriculum on our website that studies the pollution that's occurring in northeastern Pennsylvania due to the mines. And we've created hexagons that way and worked by creating a learning mural for the EPCAMer, it's called, to use when they go out to inform the public or other students about the acid mine issue in our region. That could be even applied to other places also, as far as pollution goes. So we have these resources. It's limitless. And by the way, they used iron oxides to paint with for those hexagons from the reclaimed iron oxide from the water. So there's so many different things that you can do. And we've doing this now for 15 years. This is our 15th year. We've had an exhibit in Scranton, although now we're having more of a regional exhibit, or an Eastern regional, because it got a little bit labor intensive to have 2,000 hexagons to hang in September when we have the show. So we'll be having, it probably is already over, but we had our show on September 10th, the opening. It's up all during the month of September, however, and we have a recognition event on the 12th for anyone who is interested. And this is international, as I said. So we have people from Japan, from Australia, from Nepal, from Haiti, then across the United States, participating in the project. And hopefully some of those attended our event on the 12th.
Okay. Obviously, locally, you've made a big impact with the Hexagon Project and throughout the state and everything. But from what I've done a little research and everything, I know you've also been to Haiti, Nepal, other countries
yes.
with the projects. Can you tell us a little bit about
getting back
to being an international artist now?
Right, getting back to Actually, I have a partner in crime, Mariana Milks, who I traveled both to Nepal with and to Haiti. And when we did work with David Wenzel with his United Nations Day, we gave a workshop for high school students about the conditions in these countries, these third world countries. And I mean, Haiti is in dire straits again due to earthquake and flooding. And it's interesting to go to these places and find ways to help. Mariana was able to help with a soup kitchen after the first earthquake, and back here at home, many schools in our region contributed money so that that soup kitchen and other projects were going on in the one area of Haiti that we did visit and we were connected with, which is Verret. And these teachers, we had a fundraiser outside of the Artists for Art Gallery, where I belong and have been on the board for many years. And it was a community event to do that. With Nepal, again, we made partners there. And the issues of, I think, both in Haiti and Nepal, there are parallel issues. There is the issue of lack of education. Women, girls are not educated. They might have at the most a third grade education in many cases. Private schools are basically the only schools that you will get a substantial education. It takes a lot. Government is also an issue, as we know, and we hear about with countries like Haiti and Nepal and Africa. And good leadership and democracy is another one. And many of the themes that come from these countries are about that, about wanting to have good citizenship and good education and good nutrition. So we talk to the students about the fact that so many children are malnourished and how you can tell they're malnourished by the color of their hair, and just, eye-opening to share those things. Yes.
So how proud are you to be a native from here, from our area, northeastern Pennsylvania, and you're traveling, bringing your art, your international art, to foreign countries? I mean, what is the reception like? How do you feel when you're traveling abroad and being proud of what you've created and what you've done and how it's making an impact on the world?
Well, yes. Scranton is my adopted home. I'm originally from New Jersey, but when I came here, I really became very much involved in the cultural scene, and which I love. And when I go to other countries, I get it's interesting because you get a very warm reception from many people. In Nepal, you're treated like a queen, really. Anyone from the United States is held in high esteem. Not that I should be or we should be, but there's a great idealism about our country, and still is, in spite of years of perhaps negativity. It still is held, and people want to be here. People want to be here so much to experience the American dream. There are opportunities for our immigrants and our refugees. People are warm here, and I'm proud to be a part of northeastern Pennsylvania. It is my home, and I see so many good people here, and people who want to share. And it's all about, as I teach, it's hopefully an appreciation of the power of the arts is developed, and all of us art teachers try to do that. The power of the arts to communicate in a very unique way to reach the heart. You know, the arts speak to the heart, and they connect us to the things that make us human. And that's what the Hexagon Project is, too. It's about making that connection, the human connection, the meaningfulness of our lives, what's important, and what needs to be upheld, and what needs to be changed. And how can we do that? And the thinking that goes on among people, it's the thinking that goes on when you look at any work of art, actually. You know, when you learn to read art, and see what the artist, and try to understand what the artist is telling you. That's very, very important. So as an art educator, I hope students have gained some of those skills. Those are the things we want them to do, to appreciate museums where our culture resides. And look what Scranton and our area has. We have our local museum, we have our Anthracite Heritage Museum, we have our, I've for many years been involved in the iron furnaces and the pouring of iron, and looking back at the anthracite heritage and the industrial past of our region. And we even have hexagons made out of iron.
Again, just to follow through what you're saying, I mean, we do have so many great attractions, cultural heritage attractions. We have a great art scene here in Lackawanna County, which I think makes us a stronger and a better community because of it. And obviously your involvement with the Hexagon Project and everything. I also, in reading a little bit more about your background, I mean, going to go back to last year, I believe it was, when we had the celebration of women getting the right to vote again. And you had a project, a program that you were involved with. Would you care to maybe just elaborate a little bit on that? Just because of our health situation, COVID last year, I think it kind of got downplayed and everything.
Yes,
but I would like to bring that up and discuss it a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I was invited to become involved in the celebration of the 19th Amendment through the Wyoming Valley Art League in Wilkes-Barre, and they had an exhibit at their Circle Center for the Arts. And my artwork is many times, I don't paint, I don't sculpt particularly. I use materials that are at hand and put them together. I did make a piece that followed through with some of the imagery that I've used for many years, and it does have a very direct connection to women's work. I use the metaphor of an iron shape, bottom of an iron, and also an ironing board. And so for the amendment piece, I constructed a piece of actually made out of an iron made out of transparent plexiglass that had 2 levels, and then I encased some nest-like forms, and the nests were made out of dryer lint. So that it kind of all connects. I like to use transparency. I actually create transparency. I do photography, and then I make transparencies out of those photographs, and I do a lot of, collecting things from different websites and put things together. I used a mirror that's in the shape of an iron for the background of the piece, so that you see yourself in the reflection. And then the nests dealt with both celebrating the amendment and the Constitution in one, but then also going a little bit further, because even though the 19th Amendment gave us the right to vote, there's other things hanging out there, like the Equal Rights Amendment, ERA, which may or may not be passed, but I reflected on those too, because it's with the right to vote regardless of sex, but we need to think also of sex discrimination, color discrimination. We're still working on those things. So my piece kind of is meant to go a little bit further with celebrating, but then asking some questions about where do we go from there.
Let's go back to just talking about the arts a little bit and how the status of the arts are in education right now. How do you feel that, again, we know the importance of arts in developing our next generations of students, children, and everything like that. How do you feel where we are with the arts now in education?
Well, I think we're at a pivotal time, to be honest with you, with school districts that have to cut funding. And many times the arts are the ones that are cut.
And that's unfortunate. But.
And we hear that a lot. And fortunately, in Scranton, we do. Some of our outlying districts, teachers are not being hired, and we do have some issues. And so I really feel that it's up to the citizens who appreciate art to be aware of what's going on in their school districts, to support the art teachers in what they do. But it's also important for art teachers to make known what's going on in their classrooms and share it with the community and have relevance. That's one of the things that I would like more people to be doing with the Hexagon Project. Now that we've decentralized, we want to see local schools having exhibits, even at the end of the year, have your hexagons on display. Maybe some of them will be a little controversial, and that's good. Maybe they'll spark some thought and some talk about, the issues that are important to the students. For instance, in middle school, gender identity is very important, and you see what these young people are saying, the importance of the technology and cell phones and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and what's happening with some students who become victims. So these are issues. So, but what I was saying, all art teachers, no matter what arts you teach, need to be vigilant and advocate for your program, because if you don't, it could be gone.
So what is the future of the Hexagon Projects? Where do you see yourself going in the next couple of years with the Hexagon
that's
Projects?
a good question. This is going to be year 16, and we just launched 16, and we just launched the special theme for next year. And the special theme, ta-da, is kindness. Kindness. Okay. And that's something for us to sit back, maybe take a breath from so much of the controversy that's going on, and think about how can we live in a world that is kind, more civil, live in a more civil and equitable society, and how do we approach those perhaps who are different from us, and how do we treat others with kindness. And it goes back to the golden rule, really, which has been a theme of some people in the Hexagon Project in the past. We have many themes, though, and you can choose. There's a big menu of choice with the Hexagon Project, and you can choose any of the themes, as I said: governance, women's, children's rights, environmental issues. All of those things are there for you to choose from. Our last year's themes were equity and diversity, and technology and social justice. And before that, we still have a booklet that you can follow for transforming conflict, which you can actually work with your students and go through some steps to design something. And empathy has been another one of our themes and is still popular with many teachers. So it's possible to, but we've launched for for our 16th year for the 2021-22 school year. Usually our deadline is June 30th, and we have an online gallery at artsonia.com, where you can upload the hexagons. And so that way everyone can see everyone else's. And so there are people over in Nigeria and Uganda looking at your hexagons here, and in Poland and Greece and other countries. So you can upload, and that's our process. Our website has the resources, and it's www.hexagonproject.com, and that's an easy one to remember. And that's about it.
Well, I know teachers are always looking for resources and everything to be creative with their students and everything, so it sounds like we should encourage our teachers to go to your website to see what some of the great programs that are out there. You are an international artist of fame with your Hexagon Project. So
teachers of any subject area also. You don't have to be an art teacher. And you don't have to be an artist to become involved in the project.
Well, I want to thank you for being our guest today and for all the great things that you do in our community with your Hexagon art projects, for being in education and being an advocate for the arts and everything. So thank you to Beth Burkhauser for spending some time with us today. I'm Bob Savakinus. Thank you for tuning in to our program In a Nutshell.
Thank you.